Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight from the great Midwest, I have Rankin DV, aka RDV.
Yeah.
Tonight, we're going to be covering here on the Extreme Movie Show just a couple of different of the Rankin Bass Christmas specials from the 70s going into the 80s because they were stop motion machines. RDV, they
Yeah.
did so many things that
Yep.
when I think of Christmas, I think of two things. I think of Charlie Brown, which is number one for me.
Yep.
Although Calvin and Hobbes is, comic wise up there with as far as I'm concerned. But when I think of TV specials and all that, I gotta think Rankin Bass, lots of stuff like that. It's surprising how much of it we've seen and we've forgotten that we haven't really talked about at all in a very long time. But there's a lot of them there. And tonight we're just going to talk about a couple of them each just to kind of get it out there that,
hmm
hey, let's not forget about some of these awesome claymation stop motion type masterpieces that are out there. Really, really, really good stuff. Now, growing up, I saw these quite frequently because they were on a lot. Not so the case now. You're a bit younger than me, being the mid 30 something young guy you are.
Yep.
How often have you seen these, or have you seen a lot of them?
Um, I've seen pretty much most of them. I was going through them. There's like 18 or 17 of these movies. Like I said, I've seen all the most popular ones are always gonna be like Frosty, Rudolph, Jack Frost, Santa Claus. Those are usually the big popular ones. But like, there's a few like Little Drummer Boy. I refuse to watch. I mean, I watch it when I was little, but I don't care for it to watch it again. There's also The Year Without Santa Claus. I think I might have watched it once. That was from 1974. But I was going to other ones like The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus from '85. Never heard of that. I never heard of The First Christmas, the story of the first Christmas snow. That was in the '75 TV movie.
Right.
So I've never seen that on DVD anywhere. Nestor the Donkey. First year hearing about this. Frost. I didn't know there was more than one Frosty, or more than one Little Drummer Boy. Like I'm going through this list here. It's like on IMDb, and it's just there's the stingiest man in town was another one in the '70s.
Yeah.
Rudolph Shiny New Year. Never watched that. Oh no, actually no, I have seen that with the Christmas Baby. That was weird. I turned it off fast.
Well, the
But
thing about it too with Rankin Bass is they also, I think, did was it The Hobbit and those animation
Leprechauns.
ones in their
Yeah,
late
yeah,
70s, early
yeah.
80s types too. So, as a kid, when you're watching all the stuff, it's a cartoon, it's childish, or whatever. Then you get to the age of
hmm
10, 12, where you're starting to not think you're a child anymore. So you see something like, The Hobbit, let's say, and it's kind of dark a little bit or whatever. It's not that clean kind of animation that you would see today, and it was a little creepy, I think, for its time, which is not a bad thing at all, too. But let's
hmm
just start off with the bright
Are
red one in the room, and that would be Rudolph the Red-Nosed
are you
Reindeer.
counting
And
down from worst to best?
I'm not really necessarily counting down. I just wanted to go
Because
back and
that's
forth with a
I'm
couple of them
gonna.
because I think it's really hard to rank them because, like I say, there's
It's
so many of them,
yes. They're
and if you haven't watched them all, it's hard to go. Well, wait a minute, I remember
I'm
this one
gonna
had the
count down
angel
from
in it.
three to ones. That's my list. And I don't know what you
All
can
right, well,
do.
let's go with your number three then. We'll start with that.
Mine number three is gonna be Rudolph.
Well, let's talk about it.
Mainly I think it's because I've seen it so many times. Like I can't watch it anymore. It's the point where I just cringe thinking about it. But I love Burl Lives. If there's a Holly Jolly Christmas, that is just a fun song. Or I'm Just a Dentist. There's some songs in there. Yeah, Don Cornelius.
I
Uh,
love it. Yukon Cornelius, right?
yeah,
Not Don
Yukon. Sorry,
Cornelius is a
yeah,
pimp.
yeah,
Come
Yukon, not
on
Don
now.
Cornelius. Yeah, that's yeah. It's I mean, I love the music, but I think the story is weak. It's
Okay,
like
now I
I
can
can't.
understand that because this was probably the most watched one. People might argue Frosty, but for me, I absolutely love Rudolph because I like all this stuff that's not childish. Who the hell, what kid wants to ever be a damn dentist?
You know,
And
right?
I like the fact that Rudolph is an outcast, right? So his parents, I think, did the ultimate disservice to him. They didn't prepare the child for
Yeah.
the path
Yep.
ahead of him. They try to just get by enough, and so it really is kind of like a hero's journey in a sense, kind of
hmm
half jokingly saying this because he has to learn where his value lies. And so I think there's a great sense of ownership that Rudolph demonstrates that you don't see demonstrated in children's tales at all, generally speaking, especially not today. So I like the fact that these guys pair up and it's crazy, and the guy wanting to be a dentist is just wacky. And then it gets even weird when they go to the Island of Misfits toys. And I remember going on this epic rant on it years ago, because it's basically these people have value, but in what way? You got like the toy thing that doesn't work, and
Yep.
all that, and it's like, it's just trippy to me. And I've always remembered as a kid going, this is not Christmas, this is something else, right? So to me,
Yep.
I really like it, because it really is, to me, is like an adult tale kind of told in a kid's terms, just with the stamp of Christmas being put on it. But I can totally understand how you're not that crazy about it too. But I do like it. I can't complain about it.
I grew up with it, but I think the more problem is that you see Rudolph outside the movie everywhere. He has just become like obnoxious, this like money making thing. So Rudolph is like, whether you're watching this movie or not, there's so many different Rudolph things out everywhere. Versus some of these other movies, So it's like, and then I have like nieces that watched it too, so now I had to watch it again. And I was like watching, I was like, man, it was so much better when I was like 4 years old. Now I watch it again. It's like, I still love the music. I'll just give you the soundtrack. I don't need to watch the movie. But that's okay if people like it though. That's what you like, man. I'm burned out.
Yeah, I think Maran is saying in chat about the darker toned one that doesn't get shown a lot, Life and Adventures of Santa Claus. Yeah, if you go back and you read the descriptions of each of these, you go, yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah, I've seen this one. Yeah, I've seen this one. And now you go, God, I wouldn't even thought about it. But Frank Baum was the guy that did Wizard of Oz, which is an extremely weird movie. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's whatever. It's actually quite dark and disgusting in its own way, and the story behind a lot of things on it's really creepy. But being Christmas will kind of edge away from Wizard of Oz here. But let's just go on ahead to your number 2. What do you have ranked for that?
All right, for my number 2, I'm gonna have to go with I guess we'll go with Frosty the Snowman.
Okay, I never liked Frosty at all. I never hated him, but it just seemed kind of like putsy, and he seemed like the kind of kid that he wasn't a bad kid, but you kind of want to slap him a little bit. That was just always my take, and I think it has to do with his voice, because you mentioned how you really love the Rudolph music. For me, I like the Rudolph music. I don't like it in Frosty.
But and just like with the Rudolph the Red Reindeer, there are some things I do like more than I like other ones. I do love that this also has Fred Astaire doing the opening as the postman. I think that probably sells it more from anything else. But like I said, the Jackie Verna's Frosty, I've heard that, but I've also I've loved the one with John Goodman, the remake.
I don't know that one, actually.
There was a Frosty the Snowman. I'm not sure which title it's called, but it was John Goodman did one, doing the voice of Frosty. Mm-hmm. So the songs, I can hear too, are pretty good as well. Like I said, it's a movie I've seen more and more, often, hear it on the radio. I like Frosty a little bit more than Rudolph, because I like the story more. It's about a guy, and it's about a jerk magician. Puts a hat. They get his hat put on the snowman, and then he wants his hat back, and then he has to change a heart. More story other than just a freak, with a glowing red nose who's like, well, now we got to use him to get through snow. After that, we don't need you for blizzards anymore. We're good. It's like a one-shot Rudolph. That's what he is. That's I don't like that story, but yeah. Frosty the Snowman. These kids befriend him, and they take him to the North Pole because it's starting to get warm. Because he's afraid he's gonna they want to be safe. Problem is the little girl gets cold, and on the train, she's shivering there, so he puts her inside the house. Mm-hmm. And then Frosty stays with her, and she warms up, and then he starts melting. He says, "Don't worry, I'll be back," And Santa Claus keeps his word and basically saves Frosty, so he's back every year. So it's and I, the little rabbit is in there too. Focus. So like I found I probably like that movie a lot more than I give it credit for. But looking at it as a ranking, yeah, it's got to be at a 2.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would rank Rudolph above Frosty. I don't hate Frosty, and it sounded
No,
like I did, but it just seems a bit. To me, it's the opposite. It's a bit one notice. With Rudolph, I think there's a lot of adult themes and parallels that you can draw upon that you can rewatch it as an adult. Whereas Frosty, it's nice for kids and stuff too. Your point though about being Crosby at the beginning, I was like, that's so obvious, but it's true. And of course,
yeah,
people watching Ted be like, oh, it's just some post
Fred.
person,
And I think of Bing Crosby with Rudolph, so I also think of Fred Astaire. Just doing the opening as the mailman guy. He's the guy who's telling the story.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it doesn't matter what movie you're watching. I love that.
All right, so you've got Rudolph at 3, Frosty at 2. Let's go with your number 1.
Well, I want to before I give my number one, I'm going to give one that almost made my number one.
Okay.
This is Jack Frost. That's what I was watching again today. That is a sad story. It's what it is, and it has Buddy Hackett plays the groundhog. He has this deal with Jack Frost that Jack Frost pretends to be a magic shadow. He's like he gets 6 more weeks of fun. I get him 6 more weeks of sleeping. And I love the narration through everything. And Jack Frost, he's saves this girl from she almost drowns, or basically an ice thing, little dam she's on. Breaks away and she's almost with a waterfall. He freezes it, and then she calls him a hero and stuff. And she's always had a thing for Jack Frost, but she never see him because he's invisible. But she knows the tale and stuff, and he falls in love with her. He becomes human, and it has a sad ending because he realizes he has to be Jack Frost in order to save her, and she ends up marrying a knight. But it's fun, entertaining. But yeah, that's my would have been one of my top 3, but it did. I don't imagine. My number 1 is Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Wow, Santa Claus is coming to town. Give it to me.
Santa Claus Coming to Town. It's the story of Santa Claus, becoming Kris Kringle becoming Santa Claus. You have Old Man Winter in there, who's like everyone's scared of. He ends up befriending him, and that's where he gets his magic, some of his magical powers. There's the Burgermeister, whatever, or not
Burgermeister, what?
Is it, no. What's the thing? It's something.
Burgermeister, Mr. Burger.
Mr. Burger. No, is that his
Burgermeister, Meister Burger?
I can't remember. Is that his real?
That's his name. I know.
I keep thinking like burgers. That's why I was thinking like, is it really his name? But yeah, he's the Baron, and he bans the toys. He's anti-toy and all that stuff. And I love the fact that this is also how Kris Kringle meets his wife. Story of that too, and explained for kids how, because everyone was wondering like, well, he's married, he's Mrs. Claus. How do you ever meet Mrs. Claus? And this is a story told, and how he how he came to be Santa Claus, and where he came from, like a little village and everything, and they work together to make the toys and stuff. He tracks it, the songs and everything. It's just something that like it stuck with me. That's probably what even though Frosty and Rudolph are always like hogging the spotlight when it comes to Christmas, Santa Claus Coming to Town, I think, feels it's overlooked by kids. Like, people love Santa Claus, but they never really watch this movie. So I would recommend watching this movie. It's just fun, everything about it. And it's Fred Astaire again, doing the introduction. He's telling the story of who Santa Claus is, the origin. Mickey Rooney is in here too.
It was like Santa Claus is, I think it was just like the early 70s, let's say 1970 when this came out. It was probably the legitimate birthplace of ginger violence out there, because that's how he looked to me. And I go, somehow he just doesn't look like a young Santa to me.
Yeah.
But it is one that's, obviously memorable when you start watching. You're like, oh yeah, this one. Okay, I get it. Because he does look like a boy here. He really does.
Mickey Rooney is Kris Kringle. He's Santa Claus. So, and then the Warlock is played by Keenan Wynn. I'm sure he's been some other stuff. Paul Frees is the Burger Meister Burger. So those are my top three. Those are the ones I can watch. As far as the Rankin Bass, there's many more on there. I'm sure Marani's bringing up a couple other ones, but yeah,
Oh, there's
I
a
don't.
ton of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's hard because it's like I say, they don't show them a lot. Yeah,
but
I see
we're
where
talking
she's
about
saying
Christmas
freeform. A
ones,
lot
so
of them are there.
yeah.
Well, for me,
I want to point
I'll
out to
just
people because they did do other ones. Rankin Bass didn't do just all Christmas special. They did some other ones too.
they did a lot, and like you said, there's a lot of sequels to them as well too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
for
don't
me,
think they're
I would
sequels.
probably flip my order a little bit. I'm gonna go for number three. I'm gonna go Frosty. It is catchy. It is memorable. It's probably one of the first easy things you think about. And being here from Central Florida, not really knowing snow too well, whenever I think of building a snowman, think of Frosty. I mean, it's the
Mhm.
first thing that comes to mind as a kid, and even as an adult. Not snow
Snowman,
angels or any of that other crap,
yeah.
but I just think of Frosty and come to life. So that's where I kind of like that in a childish, kind of innocent sense too. Number
Mhm.
two for me, I gotta admit this one. I'm gonna go with this one at number two because it's so different, and I could argue this could easily be number one for me. But this one here, I, I haven't watched nearly as much as number one. That's why it's at number two. Otherwise, I think it would be number one for me, and that's the Little Drummer Boy. It's different. It actually touches a little bit upon the nature behind what Christmas is supposed to be
Yeah,
in the
but
real world, as
for the
opposed to
Christ,
the commercial aspect.
yeah.
The music's different. I was always a big Lou Rawls fan, and I loved his Christmas songs too. I never liked Bing Crosby or those real quiet crooners like that. I always liked power guys and soulful types, and that's just what I gravitated. But Lou Rawls and a Little Drummer Boy, and the music and the drums, it was just different. And in school, as a kid, when we were learning Christmas songs and all that, it just felt different. It felt bigger. I don't
Mhm.
know, just more exotic, I guess is the word. But Little Drummer Boy, I think, is completely left out of loop when it comes to all these ones. Why? I think because, like you said, Frosty, like I say, it's kind of simplistic. Your take on Rudolph being everywhere, a money grubbing whore. I mean, that's absolutely true because
Well,
it's easy to commercialize it,
he
right?
was a freak, and then he only became useful because there's a blizzard. Otherwise, he'd still be not playing with anybody.
He controlled what he could based on what he was given, and that's all you can ask out of an individual. So, Rudolph's agency and can-do spirit and attitude, I find fulfilling, especially as a kid growing up in the '70s and early '80s. So, there you have it. But number one for me would be Rudolph because of those reasons.
Mhm.
Again, it's one of the ones that we're probably the most familiar with. Um, it's weird because he's almost like Rudolph to me is almost like Charlie Brownish in that instead of being a little mopey bastard like Charlie is sometimes, everything centers around Charlie. So, okay, how are you going to figure these things out? It's your world, Charlie Brown. Rudolph, it's like, okay, you don't have a lot of things going for you. How you going to handle it? And so that's what I liked about it. Rudolph literally has to walk through and deal with stuff and put people together with the island of misfit toys and find solutions
Didn't
for other
his
people's problems to be, to grow up and mature. And I think that's just a wonderful message, is that no matter how bad things are for you and what your situation is, sometimes the best thing to do at that point is, instead of feeling sorry for yourself, try to help somebody else out in hand, and then eventually make it roar. Now, I don't want to sound like, oh my
yeah
God, that's just whatever, go shoot me. But it is a very, I think, powerful message. And I think it's done well enough that,
yeah
again, as an adult, you can watch it and go, yeah,
didn't
he handles that well. Because they kind of pick on his ass. It's not like they
yeah
tease him. They
didn't his
ostracize
dad
him
show
big
him
time.
too? His dad like, here, put this in your nose, and like his
Yeah.
dad was I was like, oh dang.
Yeah.
His mom's the only one that loved him. Basically, a mother love.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're not one of ours, so we normally would eat our young, but since this is a claymation special, we'll just boot you out of the house and create a
The dad's
45-minute
like,
special on how the hell
get
you
on my son.
survived. Well, there you
I'm
have it, ladies
surprised
and
there was
gentlemen. Just a few
the
Rankin Bass ones. Any final thoughts on just claymation, Rankin Bass, what they've done in general?
Rankin Bass is I hold him up there as probably being like the best Christmas things you can watch with your kids. There's always cartoons, but you don't really live until you've seen the stop animation stuff.
Yeah.
And then like these movies also inspired stuff like Wallace and Gromit, which is claymation stuff, stop animation too.
Mhm.
So, and I'd love to see more stop animation stuff like made today, if they could do it. But I'd be afraid about what they put in there as propaganda. But Like back then, if you just get original stuff, these are movies that are always going to be popular no matter what, because they're Christmas stuff. Christmas stuff is only popular once a year, so and the songs are catchy. Can you imagine if the songs were horrible? I don't think these would be as popular.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
I'll say this for my final thoughts. The two things. One is that I agree with what you're saying in that growing up, we would see like Charlie Brown on that type of animation. It's
Mhm.
not stop animation, but you've got the background things, and it was a bit artsy. And here you have the claymation stuff. So if you grew up on this and Harryhausen and early Disney, you're a fan of that type of animation as opposed to what's out there today. But secondly, I would suggest that this stuff can be done, and I will point to the creepy pastas that were on they're on currently on Shutter. Candle Cove, Butcher's Block. There's a few others
Yeah.
where there were 6 episode seasons, and the first one, the fake story has to do with a children's programming from the early 70s, which is eerily reminiscent of this. And I believe, I don't know this, that they were inspired by Rankin Bass, because it's about pirates on the show. And when you're watching this, it's kind of creepy, and you go, man, I could see if a kid was watching this, they'd be freaked the hell out too. So, puppets are just strange in general. And I know here on Extreme Movie Show, we've gone ape shit over all the puppet movies that are out there, like Magic with Anthony Hopkins and some others too. So that's definitely a theme that we'll continue to do on that.
Yeah,
We'll
the
close
one
up here, shop 2.
I just want to point out the one I was thinking of is directed by Lauren Michaels, is The Frost Returns with John Goodman.
Okay, so the
That was
SNL
95.
person,
Yeah,
Lauren
CBS.
Michaels, producer. Yeah. Gotcha.
So I remember that one being on there, but that was a more animated one but it's still like the stop animation one by Rankin the best. Rankin Bass.
Rankin the Rankin Basses. Yeah, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure we'll be revisiting these as the years go by here on the Extreme Movie Show too. They're worth a deep dive. Check them out. They're available freeform. A lot of other places there too. Some are on YouTube.
You can get them all at Walmart. Stop at Walmart. They're like, you can get like 10 of them for $20, and then you can get the other 5 for like $20, on Blu-ray. So DVD
those
and
of you
Blu-ray.
currently listening, we're getting ready to cut off on this stream and go live here at 7 o'clock for a review of Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. So we'll see you guys there in a moment. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, say Extreme. Marani, we'll see you over there in just a minute.
Have a holiday, John.